The starship Vorathis hung silently in orbit around the desolate moon of Xylos 7, its sleek obsidian hull reflecting the faint light of a dying sun. The crew aboard was composed of the most advanced beings in the galaxy, the Vorathi, a species known for their mastery over biology and warfare. They had spent millennia studying lesser species, cataloging their weaknesses and marveling at their insignificance. But today, they were not here to study. They were here to hunt. Xylos 7 was home to one of the deadliest creatures ever recorded, the Zarnok. A towering monstrosity of claws, teeth, and muscle, the Zarnok was the apex predator of this barren wasteland. It stood 12 feet tall on 4 jagged legs, its armored hide impervious to energy weapons, and its roar capable of shattering eardrums from miles away. For centuries, the Vorathi had observed the Zarnok through drones, fascinated by its ferocity and dominance. And now they sought to capture it alive, a trophy to add to their collection of interstellar beasts. But the Vorathi weren't alone on Xylos 7. Dr. Elena Vega crouched behind a jagged outcrop of rock, her breaths shallow but steady. Her once pristine jumpsuit was torn and smeared with dirt, and her hands, calloused and scarred, gripped the hilt of a combat knife she'd scavenged from the wreckage of her escape pod. She had been part of a research team sent to explore Xylos 7's mineral deposits when disaster struck. An alien vessel, the Vorathi, had intercepted them mid-mission, disabling their ship and leaving her stranded on this godforsaken rock. When she first landed, she thought the planet uninhabited. That illusion shattered the moment she encountered the Zarnok. It had ambushed her during a routine survey, charging out of the shadows like a freight train. She barely escaped with her life, forced to flee into the labyrinthine caves that dotted the landscape. There she learned quickly, or died trying. Over weeks of survival, Elena shed her humanity piece by piece. Hunger drove her to eat raw meat, scavenged from smaller animals. Desperation taught her how to fight back against predators twice her size. And fear? Fear became her fuel. Now she wasn't just surviving, she was thriving. Every encounter with the Zarnok had honed her instincts, sharpened her reflexes, and awakened something primal within her. She no longer feared death. She embraced it. The creature that prowled these lands would soon learn what happened when prey turned predator. High above, aboard the Vorathis, Commander Vrax watched the scene unfold on his holographic display. His elongated skull tilted slightly as he analyzed the data streaming in from their surveillance drones. One screen showed the Zarnok stalking through the ravine, its massive form casting long shadows under the dim light of Xylos 7's twin moons. Another displayed a lone human figure moving parallel to the beast, her movements deliberate, almost predatory. "She is persistent," Vrax muttered, his voice a low rasp. "Most humans would have perished by now." "Indeed," replied Lieutenant Sale, his multifaceted eyes gleaming with curiosity. "But this one, she adapts. Her heart rate remains stable despite proximity to the Zarnok. Her neural activity suggests heightened focus." "Fascinating." Vrax frowned. Humans were supposed to be fragile, their bodies weak and their minds easily broken. Yet this specimen defied all expectations. She had evaded the Zarnok repeatedly, even managing to wound it during their last confrontation. Now she appeared to be deliberately luring it toward her. "What is she planning?" Vrax wondered aloud. Before Sael could respond, the feed erupted into chaos. The human sprinted into the open, drawing the Zarnok's attention with a piercing scream. The creature roared in fury, charging after her with terrifying speed. What happened next left the entire bridge crew frozen in stunned silence. Elena didn't run far before spinning to face the Zarnok. She planted her feet firmly, raising her arms in a gesture of defiance. The creature skidded to a halt, confused by her lack of fear. Then, with a guttural snarl, it lunged forward, its massive jaws snapping shut mere inches from her face. Time seemed to slow as Elena sidestepped the attack, grabbing hold of one of the Zarnok's barbed horns. With a strength that belied her, small frame, she yanked herself upward, using the momentum to swing onto its back. The Zarnok thrashed violently, attempting to dislodge her, but she clung on with unrelenting determination. Her fingers dug into the gaps between its armored plates, finding purchase where none should exist. The Varathi watched in horrified awe as the human began to tear the Zarnok apart. Using her knife, Elena carved deep gashes into the creature's flesh, targeting vulnerable spots beneath its armor. Blood sprayed across the ground as the Zarnok roared in agony, bucking wildly in an attempt to throw her off. But Elena was relentless. She moved with precision, striking again and again until the beast collapsed beneath her, its mighty limbs twitching in its final moments. Breathing heavily, she stood atop the Zarnok's corpse, her chest heaving as she stared down at her handiwork. Her face was streaked with blood and dirt, her eyes burning with an intensity that made her seem more animal than human. For a brief moment, she glanced skyward, as if sensing the presence of unseen observers. Then, without another word, she turned and disappeared into the darkness. Back aboard the Varathis, silence reigned supreme. Every member of the crew was paralyzed by what they had witnessed. Even Vrax, who prided himself on his stoicism, found himself struggling to process the scene. "That shouldn't be possible," Sale whispered, breaking the silence. "Her body isn't equipped for such feats. Her strength, her endurance, it defies logic." Vrax said nothing. He simply stared at the image of the human walking away from the Zarnok's carcass, her silhouette illuminated by the pale glow of the moons. Something about her unnerved him, not just her physical prowess, but the sheer ferocity of her will. This was no ordinary human. This was something else entirely. "We came here to hunt," Vrax finally said, his voice tinged with unease. "But perhaps we are not the hunters." Sael nodded slowly. "What do we do now?" Vrax hesitated, then gave the order. "Leave. Retrieve our drones and depart immediately. We've seen enough." As the Varathis ascended into the void, leaving Xylo 7 behind, neither Vrax nor his crew could shake the feeling that they had narrowly avoided catastrophe. Somewhere on that desolate moon, a human predator stalked the shadows, a reminder that even the mightiest hunters could become prey. And somewhere deep within the bowels of the ship, a single drone continued to transmit footage of the woman who had torn apart an apex predator with her bare hands.